Hello, and welcome to Borrow My Belief podcast, where we invite guests to show you that your soul is calling you to do the very thing that you're dreaming about. And today I've got an amazing guest, Kellie Koppel, who I had the pleasure of living with. Amazing lady, and I can't wait for you to hear her story because blows me away. I'm hoping that one day she's going to write a book, um, long awaited book, blows me away, and I'll let you see for yourself. So, Kellie, welcome.
Hello, Joanne. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I've missed you in Mexico and our time there. You're just a very, very, very special soul sister that I absolutely treasure, and it's my absolute pleasure to be here with you on your podcast.
Yeah, and right back at you. So, my fellow Taurian here, um, we really did have a great time in Mexico, and we also had some challenging times, so to
Oh, it
speak.
was a tough time.
Yeah.
It was a long, dark night of the soul. And I honestly believe that we were put in that time, in that space, in that energetic vortex together to not only support each other, but to process, to release, to open up, and to find new ways of um, of healing and of releasing
Yeah.
old stuff that no longer serves us.
The healing home, as we came to call it. So,
Yeah.
Kellie, I remember when I first met you, and then subsequently I moved in with you into your healing home. And I remember sat at the table in the kitchen for hours talking about your story and saying, oh my God, I can't wait till people read this story one day. So, I know this is a really big and broad question, but can you tell us in your own words what it was that you told me that night and like the journey that you've been on?
Yes. Um, I will condense it down so your audience gets the Reader's Digest jam-packed, action-packed version. Um, so I've had two very interesting health journeys in the last 10 years, one right after another. And it's interesting because my entire life, I feel, had prepared me for both in different ways. I've studied and taught Kundalini Yoga since 1994 in Los Angeles. I was a Reiki master. I've always been on a spiritual, self-aware, self actualization journey. It's just been my whole life. I was an actress in LA. I've been acting since I was 7. So my whole life has been a self-discovery and a deep dive into emotion, emotional wellness, fortitude, exploration. And because of that, it has given me spidey senses, very interesting gifts and perspectives on life, on humanity, on the human experience. Um, and in 2014, I had just come back. I was top of my career. I was a red carpet host. I was an executive producer and host of a 1 hour live show called It's So LA in Los
Hmm.
Angeles. I was in all the red carpets. I had 3 films screen that I produced and co-wrote and starred that screened at the Cannes International Film Festival. So I really creatively, I was in the highlight of my career as an actress, as a filmmaker, and just loving it. I mean, it was glamorous, it was fun, and I had just come back from a month hosted trip by the Chinese government through China as part of a delegation for film, television, and digital media. And it completely hosted. They paid for everything. I couldn't even buy a gift to take home. They didn't pay for it. It was just truly a blessing. I was at the top of everything. It was like, oh, God put me into my dream, career. And when I came back, I had noticed that there was like a weakness and pain in my left leg, and I almost didn't get to climb up the Great Wall of China because it my leg was something was happening to it. It had a lot of pain, this hip, and it started having this weakness. And when I got back, I started going to the doctor to find out what was going on, and it started with X-rays, then MRIs, and nerve tests, and it kept getting worse and worse. Like over a good month's time, when I started investigating, it was getting worse uh, exponentially, like really fast, to the point that I would walk and then my left foot wouldn't be there and I'd trip over it. It wouldn't be there, you know? And so there was this one doctor, after all the nerve tests and everything, she said, I'm going to send you to uh, USC, to the hospital. They have a neurology department. Set me there to get a head and neck MRI. She said maybe there's something crushed or smushed or, compressed that's causing this. And we have to find it soon because the amount of nerve damage that's already happened and is happening so quickly is not reversible. It's just it's decomposing literally as we speak. And at that time, they already had me starting to work with a walker because it was not stable. And it eventually got to the point where I couldn't even lift my left leg. I had to move it around with my hands to even move it. I couldn't lift a sheet. I couldn't, even just a sheet, I couldn't lift it with my leg. And I mean, it got really bad fast. Anyway, had the neck and MRIs, and they kept me there all day, and then came back at like in the emergency room. They came back at like 3:30 in the morning, and the neurological team had been running tests and stuff all day, and finally scooched me in at the very end of the day to get this MRI. And they came down and they said, we found a little something and we're going to have to do some more tests. And I was like, okay, let me come back tomorrow. All is well, blah, blah, blah. And they said, no, 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 no. We've already got a room upstairs for you in neurology ICU. And I was like, ICU, intensive care unit for neurology, ruh-roh. That's not the best news. And so they wheeled me up there, and literally I was abducted for a week. I didn't have my charger for my cell phone. Nobody knew I was there. They kept me there, and what they had found was a golf ball size, a 3.2 centimeter size brain tumor, that had literally split my brainstem in half. It had roots going down into my brainstem, and it was growing into my pons and my autonomic system, and it was wrapped around the third, fourth, fifth, sixth cranial nerves and had displaced my left Meckler's cave. And which is, anybody who knows anything about the body, that's the highest real estate that my body has. That's my entire nervous system. That's my entire functioning. My automatic system, my autonomic system controls my heartbeat, my breath, everything. So that's like controls central. And that's where this tumor was, everywhere. And what really was interesting about this was what I noticed is my reaction to it. I was absolutely completely at peace with it. I was aware that my timelines jumped, that life would never be the same. I didn't know what the journey was going to be. I didn't know if I was going to have some horrible brain surgery, if I was going to, if I was going to die in 3 months, a year, a month, if I was going to be a vegetable, because I couldn't walk properly. And is that going to happen to the rest of my body? Am I going to be like Christopher Reeves and a paraplegic. I had no idea what the journey was going to be. But the one thing that was amazing to me is this sense of peace that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that whatever this journey was, it was divinely created for my soul's evolution.
Wow.
I knew it was my journey, and I owned it. It's like I knew it was for me because it was crazy. The physical was so crazy. I was healthy. I was in the top shape. I was, doing core aerobic stuff, and the physical was so crazy. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was a spiritual journey and that was designed for my soul to experience. And so from the very beginning, I had no fear, none. I wasn't, the conversation in my head was not, will I ever walk again? Not, will I this? Will I that? What am I, it was none of that. From the very, very start, it, the conversation inside my head, and I kept checking this to make sure I'm not like in denial or something, but the conversation inside my head was, what gifts does this have for me? What am I? It was like an adventure. I was like Dora the Explorer and setting out on this adventure of, what am I going to find? What am I going to discover spiritually or physically or whatever? And I've always been into natural health care and energy medicine. I worked at the top energy medical center in Beverly Hills. Um, and we had Rife Technologies, Tesla Technologies. It was amazing. And what was interesting is that despite the fact that I had all these contacts for natural medicines and stuff, it was my dad
Yeah.
who's British and very Western medicine. He's the one that called, and his neighbor had been working with this medical intuitive um, with his wife, and my dad passed that number on to me. To this day, he thinks this guy is a quack. And to this day, the reason that I'm sitting here is because of the liquid herbs, the supplements, and the electromagnetic frequencies that he treated me with for 3.5 years. And the journey became one of me learning how to nurture myself
Mm.
in ways that I had never known before. It was a very private journey. I didn't tell people how bad the tumor was. Of course, I had to, you know, tell people in case I all of a sudden died or something. But I didn't tell them how bad it was because I didn't want them to hold me in that fear. I didn't want them to imagine me and hold me in that energy of fear. And so it was a journey of discovery of me. And it really was like a meditation. There were times I couldn't speak. I didn't have enough energy, to do more than get myself downstairs to make my food. And that's all. And I would pass out after that because I had no more energy. It was a very solo experience, and it was me discovering light and living in light. And it was magical and beautiful. And I was not attached to whether I was living or dying. I was just attached to the beauty of the journey. And
I,
it
re-
really was
I, re-
bliss.
I remember you telling me that you had a choice, that at one point when your dad put you in touch with this guy, that he wasn't sure whether even his medicine energy was going to work, and that you had a choice. And I remember you telling me about what happened when you made that choice.
Yeah, it's exactly it at the time that David, his name was David. My dad had sent me David's information, and he said uh, a a lot happened after the brain tumor because I was doing all this natural stuff, and I didn't realize how compromised my organs actually were. So all the detoxification from the ozone and things dumped toxins into my bloodstream that my liver and my gallbladder and my pancreas couldn't handle. I didn't realize that I had to pull those toxins out of my body after, releasing them from my blood. So I literally crashed my organs. They could not function as fast as I was dumping toxins into them. So I went from 125 pounds, US pounds, to 95 pounds in 3.5 weeks. And my organs shut down. My bones were degenerating, just like it was like I was the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm dissolving before my very eyes, and I was okay with that. I could feel that I was dying, but I was okay. I was at peace. I was. It's like this is part of the journey. I was absolutely surrendered to whatever the journey was. And when my dad called with his number, he had said, "You need to call him tonight." And David had told my dad's neighbor, if there is anything, he had told him that right now the brain tumor was the least of my problems. If there were if there was anything that he could do, he would literally have to start right now because he could feel that I was already transitioning. I was already, my life force was already leaving my body. And in the first 3 minutes of our conversation on the telephone, he describes this tumor exactly as if he were reading the films. I mean, in absolute detail. I'd never talked to him. Nobody knew. Over in Texas, nobody knew what it was going on to the degree, and he described it in detail. And he said the reason it has roots in my brainstem is from parasites, a big hookworm from pork going up my spine into my brain. And that hookworm in its nest was the majority of this tumor. And he said, if there is anything that I can do, I need to do a full scan. He said, I don't know if I can help you. He said, what's happened is your soul has drawn a line in the sand, and you have not been living your soul's essence.
Oh,
And it has drawn this line in the sand for you to check out and come back and do it again and live and express the light that is your soul, instead of this damaged people pleaser that didn't have no in her vocabulary. It's and he said, this is what the truth of this is. He said, I can see that there's a possibility of you having that union in this lifetime. But he said, I can see there's a possibility of that, but I cannot tell you that you're going to survive this. He said,
mm,
I cannot see that. So, but you have to tell me right now, um, do you want to live? Because if you do, I've got to get working and I've got to see what's going on and see what I can do about it. And when he said that, I knew everything that was coming out of his mouth, it absolutely resonated with me. It was truth of my soul. I could feel it. And when he said that, you have to tell me if you want to, if you want to live. My inside voice was like, hell no, peace out. I am done. I am done. This has been a tough life, but I've done my part, and I've done everything I can do to honor my path and to, elevate my soul, and I've done it, and I'm done. No mas. I'm right on the goal line. I've got that football in my hand, and I'm about to Hail Mary, peace out. And and that was my inner voice. I'd never asked myself that, but when he asked that question, that was my internal truth. That was my response inside. I didn't say anything, but that's what was going on inside my head. And then all of a sudden, in my mind's eye, I saw this sign. It was like this neon sign. You know those old ones like at the train station going pointing to the loo?
Yeah.
That's like, WC this way. This 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 hand, this neon hand, it illuminated and it was blinking. It was going like this. And I saw that and I knew that this was the direction. This was the next step.
Mm,
I knew that the journey was taking me this way. And I also knew that there were not a lot of people who could go through what I was going to have to go through and prove faith and prove natural medicine and prove this man's work. You know, it was interesting too, because I was, I was going to the doctors. They were trying to put together surgical teams, and it's inoperable. They
yeah.
can't get to it. The surgery that they could possibly perform would literally be taking off my face and trying to pull a 3.2 centimeter tumor that's wrapped around all of my 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 core engine, my control center, pull it out of a 10 millimeter hole.
Yeah.
And it's just not, it's not feasible. It would, it if it didn't kill me straight off, it would render me absolutely, a vegetable.
Yeah.
And I had gone to 11 11 neurosurgeons. I'd gone to radio oncologists. I mean, I had done the Western medicine thing like hand in hand, step by step, to see, because it's my responsibility to this temple, to this body, to do whatever I can to support it. It's not like I had a death wish at all. I did absolutely everything that anybody said to do. And and I knew that the path of regenerating my body, because if you can imagine, I mean, if you want, I can send you a photo to add with this of
Yeah.
what 90 at that point 93 pounds looks like.
Wow.
I took a photo because I looked at my body and I thought I looked like had been in Auschwitz. And I thought nobody is ever going to believe that it was possible, or that my body ever looked like that. And so I snapped this photo.
And
Um, yeah,
and Kelly, like wait till the listeners hear the rest of your story. I mean, the fact that you're still walking around with that now. And I remember you used to go to the sweat lodge, the Temescal in Mexico, and you used to just throw away comments like, "Oh, what would happen if this tumor popped? What would happen to
or
me?" And I'm
swell,
like,
yeah,
"Oh my God," as you were going off to do these sweat lodges.
in the
Like,
middle of the jungle.
how long have you been living with that now?
Since well, I've known about it, and it has been that big. Um, it has not changed in size. I have to do MRIs every year. I have one beautiful, thanks God, a neurosurgeon who didn't just send me away to die. He said, there's nothing that I can do for you that would enhance, that would do anything for you. And he said, and I said, I know that you're not my first neurosurgeon. This is not my first rodeo. And he said, well, then what do you need from me? And I said, honestly, I need someone with a white coat and a degree on that side of the desk, that when and if this goes south, that they know me,
Yeah.
they know what I've been through. It's someone that my family has that can do whatever is needed at the time to ease their pain, my pain, during the end of times. Because if not, then, the whole story has to be told over and over again. And nobody knows what I've been through and what my spirit is and what I value and what I don't value, in life. And
Yeah.
it's quality of life. It's not just life. I don't want to lay there unconscious. It's like, no, you know, cut the ties. I'm good
Hmm.
if and when it comes to that. So so yes, it's still there. And what has shifted is with all of the work that I've done with David, with the medical intuitive, the liquid herbs and the supplements, what it and the electromagnetic frequencies, what it did, it got rid of the toxins. It reset my entire physical body, and it helps every cell and my nerves to regenerate. So, I mean, and I did that along with, traditional physical therapy and, Western support as well. It took me a good 2.5 years to learn and develop the to regenerate enough to be able to walk again.
Yeah.
Um, because I spent a full year and a half in bed, and I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't even lift a sheet with this leg. And I'm walking and dancing, and it's a blessed.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I never, it never even occurred to me to ask, why me? Why this? What have I done? Is this karma? Because it didn't matter.
Yeah.
This was my path, and I got to choose my relationship. I got to choose my experience, and I chose to be blessed.
Yeah.
And that's what I created. Was it challenging? Was there physical pain? Absolutely. But I didn't suffer. There's a difference. I I held it all in bliss, and I breathed in the energy of bliss, of light, of love. And every cell of my being, that's what I fed. That's how I nurtured myself. That's how I learned to nurture myself. And that's how I healed, from the inside out. And I helped what was happening, with the physiological healing. That's how I helped it from the inside. And I got to the point where I I regenerated my entire body, and I was able to walk again. And then slowly I was able to travel again and build up the muscles. And then in 2019, 2018, I started working with these beautiful women. I found them in California at Shakti Fest and Bhakti Fest that did breath work. And
Mm.
it was a type of breath work that I had actually been doing in the early 90s to release a lot of trauma that started coming up in my subconscious mind to be released. And these women had taken that original rebirthing uh, technique and altered it a little bit, and had created what's called clarity breath work. It's also a very Shakti, powerful subconscious, it's great for trauma release breath work. And I started working with them. And so in 2019, in January, when I was strong enough, I decided, not for anything other than my own further development and unwinding, I decided to do their whole 5 levels of breath certification in in an eco village in the mountains of Costa Rica in the jungle. I could barely walk across the room, and something inside me pushed me,
Yeah.
and it sent me there to to continue to heal the parts of myself that were ready to be released. And
Mm.
so I did that for 3 months. And then they asked me to go to Bali with them and facilitate their next 5 levels of training, of teacher training. And so I did that. So I literally, for half a year, I was doing breath work twice a day, every day. And as you can imagine, the levels of energetic unwinding and the old traumas and the healing and the reframing was was exactly what the rest of my healing journey needed, you know? It was my body releasing all of that. It was finally safe to release childhood traumas.
Yeah.
And it was really beautiful. And so I started, I hung a shingle out and I started sharing breath work with others and, and really showing up and sharing that technique. And it has been beautiful. I was back in LA and I was just about a week away from going back to Guatemala, where I'd rented a beautiful little house on the Lake Atitlan. And and 1 week before I was supposed to go back, um, out of the blue, uh, this very high, very drunk driver drove full speed across 5 lanes of traffic right into me, into my driver's side. And again, I was at the top of my next chapter. And out of the blue, it was like God said, okay, jump another timeline and we're going in this direction. It took 2 firemen almost an hour and 2 jaws of life to cut the car from around me. And everything. I had over 24 broken bones. All my ribs were broken on the left side, all but, and multiple breaks, all but 2 on the right side. My lungs were punctured. My left one was completely deflated. My right one only had a quarter bit left. My heart was displaced. My clavicle was apart 3 inches. My pelvis was broken in 2 places. My left leg was broken at the knee. My right leg, the ACL, was ripped apart. I mean, the car literally drove into me and broke me. And both of my feet were completely crushed. And this hand went into the dashboard. So all my knuckles and my fingers were just kind of like hanging there. So for the next 6 months, I went on another type of health journey. And for the first 2.5 months, I couldn't move anything because I had a chest tube and all these broken ribs. And I couldn't do anything for myself. So instead of being a self-nurturing uh, health journey, this one I had to learn how to receive help.
Mm.
And that was so key for me because I'd always shown up and given help. I was the one who held the space, who gave the help. And it was really difficult for me to receive. And I had no choice because there is nothing I could do physically. I couldn't brush my hair. I couldn't drink. I couldn't do anything. I was like this. I was non-weight bearing in the hospital, meaning I could not put any weight on my crushed feet for over 6 months. I I was in the hospital for over 6 months, and it was amazing. It was amazing. You know, people came to visit and they're like, oh my gosh, how can you not move in a bed and not lose your mind? And again, I was amazed at my own response to what was going on. Not once did I ask, oh, is he in jail? what happened to him? Why did this happen to me? Why now? I just got my life together again, and this man had no insurance on his car. So there was no accountability whatsoever. And I literally had almost $2 million of medical bills. And not once did I ask the question, why me? Why this? Why now? Friends did. Friends asked me, why do you think this happened? You're so spiritual and it's like, I just knew this was for me. This is what my soul needed to experience in order to learn. And absolutely everything in my life had given me the tools, the ability to go through this with a grace that was exalted, with a faith. I mean, it brings me to tears now because it's just so precious. I
Hmm.
mean, how many times in our lives do we get the chance to really test who we are and how we think and how we show up? I mean, as a yoga teacher, as a whatever, yeah, you spout a good a good line. You spout a lot of sayings and thoughts and scriptures and stuff, but to really find out who you are and what you really believe, it's 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 an amazing opportunity. And when I was laying there just not being able to move, again, I would just, I've lived and traveled and experienced so much in life. And so with my acting spidey emotional senses, I would relive all of these beautiful moments, these waterfalls, and I would feel that beautiful mountain, crisp, just exuberant water washing through, hitting my head with this force and washing every cell of my being, and just the cleansing and the excitement and the vibration of nature. I breathe that in. Every sunset that I've breathed in and just been bathed in the warmth, I would lay there and re-experience it. And I went places in my mind's imagination, and I allowed my emotions to feel love and excitement and possibility and the support of creation, of nature, my connection to all that is. I kept line, that line of life. I kept that. I kept pulling that into me. And you could not have shaken that out of my hand. It's like a dog with a bone. And yeah, I had over 12 surgeries. And in the first 2 days, I had surgical tag teams. I had 7 surgeries in 2 days. And literally, surgical teams were waiting to come in and operate. And it's just, the experience was a blessing, absolutely a blessing. And I had to learn one more time how to walk again, because it right, insurance only lets you stay in the hospital so long. And I had just become, they had taken the rods. I had metal rods in all the balls of my feet, and they had pulled those out without any anesthesia or local or anything, literally holding my foot with pliers, pull, twist, pull, twist. Medieval, medieval. When I say I've been through a lot of pain, I've been through a lot of
Oh,
pain. But I breathed. I mean, thank God I'd been breathing all the whole year before, because I had the tools. I breathed through it and I released the pain. I released my body's response to the pain. When I was laying in the emergency room when they brought me in, and my lungs were collapsed and I couldn't breathe. I just spent an entire freaking year working with my breath and unwinding the trauma of my physical body and my emotional bodies, unwinding it with breath. So I wasn't frightened. I wasn't scared. I didn't hold on to that trauma. I mean, it's like magic. It's like
yeah.
this journey I was born for it. So, so
I've I've never heard anyone. Do you know, I keep listening all the way through. I've written some notes. You chose to be blessed and you mastered your inner landscape. And for me, while you've been speaking and thinking of other people out there who are going through things, perhaps want to change their life, this here is the key to everything, really, isn't it? It's we don't always get what we want, we get what we need. And then how we respond to the thing that we get what we need is key, really, in my opinion. What's your thoughts on that?
absolutely. Coming out of it all, the one thing that I keep reiterating, it's kind of my anthem. We can't choose what life brings to us. We have no idea what life is going to bring to us. And we can try to control that, but it's in vain. It's going to bring us whatever it's going to bring us. The only thing that we have any control over, and this I truly believe is our superpower,
Hmm.
is we have the ability to choose how we want to experience anything.
Agreed.
And I'm a fun, quirky, irreverent kind of character. I like fun in my life. So if I'm sitting there for 6 months in agonizing pain, I'm going to have some fun with it. You know, when I finally was able to, I was finally able to get into a wheelchair in the rehab hospital. They they have a shower room, and it's the most humiliating thing. They have a PVC, like a plastic wheelchair that they put you in, and it has like a hole. It's also the potty chair, and they put you're absolutely naked, and they just drape a poncho like on you, and they wheel you through the entire floor to go to this little shower room where they spray you down naked as a jaybird, like a dog. You know, you're just like being washed, and it's humiliating. This whole process. So I'm such a character, and the irony was not wasted on me. And I would go like a parade in my poncho with my backside flipping in the wind, and I would go down the halls being pushed like just the Queen at the Jubilee, happy as you please, just waving at everyone. Hello, hello, hello. And they would laugh and laugh and laugh.
Oh,
And you know, it's I like to have fun.
mhm.
And that's what I chose. That's what I choose. It's is is an irreverent side, because life is too short. Life
Yeah.
is too short for me to worry about what my body will or will not do, if I will live or if I will die, until this little energizer bunny called Kellie, until she runs out of steam, until it's the time for her soul to evolve into another plane of existence. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna invest every breath, every energy that I have into that makes me happy and that feeds me.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to bother with the rest of it. I'm not going to invest my energy into judgment or self-judgment or the old traumas.
Yeah.
Now with the energy of the eclipse and the planetary frequency raising as it's doing, we have, as energetic beings, we have the ability to just literally open up our hands. We raise our frequency up, just like I would do with my breath.
Yeah.
And this energy, holding this frequency of light and love, we can raise our frequency up. And all of the density, all the old stories, all the old trauma, it just gracefully, effortlessly, it just falls away. But it's our choice. We have to open the hands. We have to let go
Yeah.
of the trauma.
I'm thinking during, because it's not spiritual bypassing what you're talking about. I'm thinking about when we lived together, and you mentioned the dark night of the soul, and having lived with you, and you know much about me, and I know much about you. There was all sorts happened in that short period of time. There was money worries, certainly for me, and
Me
there were
too.
lots of things happening. And during that time when we were together, stories were coming up, traumas were coming up. Like, it was emotional at that time. When I met you, you walking perfectly. I've not known you like what you've been talking about. You move perfectly, gracefully, very fit, but that was an emotional time. So there's going to be some people listening to this who might be feeling depressed, like I had depression last week, but I know now it's not. They might be feeling depressed, they might be feeling low mood, various different things. And we will talk about your breath work after this, but what advice would you give to people? Because it isn't about bypassing what you're
No,
feeling. I don't feel. I'd be interested to hear what you've got to say.
it's just the opposite. Right now, what I feel with all my clients, I have a lot of private breath and coaching clients, and I do group workshops, live ones, and also on the internet,
Mm,
virtual ones as well. And it's interesting because it the work that I do, the energy work and the breath work, it does not matter if it's just on a phone call. I don't need to see you.
mhm,
Energy, it's the Reiki, the Sat Nam Rasayan, the energy of creation. There is no bounds. It's multi-dimensional. It's there is no bounds. It's amazing how it works. Um, the thing that I has been coming up, and the awareness that I personally have had, because things it still come up. You
yeah.
know, of course, I'm a human being. I mean, an energetic being having a human experience with human emotions, and there are layers of trauma and grief and guilt and shame and everything that's just like an onion. It peels. The difference is, and what I've come to realize is that right here, right now, it's not about escaping anything. It's like when I was in the hospital bed, I couldn't escape. I couldn't move anything. I had to sit in it. I had to, whatever emotion came up, what I realized is that as an energetic being, having a human experience, we process energy through our human emotions.
Mhm,
So being able to take the judgment away from what I was experiencing. I mean, sometimes I have a heaviness that is, it's like the way I describe it, it's like a silent scream. It's a pain that is so unbearable. It's an emotional pain that is physical. It's so unbearable.
mhm,
The torment is, there's not even there isn't even an expression of sound that could encapsulate the depth of this pain. I call it the silent scream, and it comes sometimes like the hot, dry winds. And it's like a black, a dark cloud that comes over. And instead of looking at it and being fearful of it and trying to run away from it, what I do is, in my love and compassion, just like I embraced these soul journeys, these health journeys, I look at it and I embrace it, and I breathe into it, and I meet it with love and compassion, and I allow the energy to move through my emotions. I allow myself just to fall apart and cry and be absolutely devastated, feel the depths. As an actress, I've learned to allow and to explore my emotions. So this has also given me an innate ability to work and relate to emotions in a very different way. And so I allow and I experience and I explore what it is to
Mhm.
feel so helpless and so alone and so pained and so traumatized. And then I explore that in the depths. And then with the breath, I breathe in like this light that comes and dissipates the dark cloud. I breathe in the light and the love and the compassion, not making it wrong, being aware of it and bringing it love, bringing these parts of myself that are too pained to even mention, too shamed to even speak, bringing them love and light. From Kellie the adult to Kellie, this beautiful soul, this little girl full of innocence and wonder. I hold her, and wherever I have not received love and compassion through traumatic experiences, I reframe it and I show up with the love and compassion for myself
Yeah.
and for those feelings. And that's what I do also with breathwork clients. When we have traumas in the past, so many times we literally leave our body, our energy, because that's how we survive the pain. Energetically, we leave, we check out. And sometimes we don't even come back really physically into the body. We kind of are disconnected until we become aware, and then we work on it and work on that connection. So that's what we do with the breath work. We unwind from the nervous system these deep traumas, and we bring them a light and a love with the breath. We put that experience, your choice of how you want to reframe that and re-experience that. You get to re-sculpt all of this. You get to choose your experience, and you get to love in a way that you've never experienced before in your life. And when you do that, your subconscious mind doesn't know whether it's in this year or 15 years ago. It doesn't know if it's actually an experience that happened or that you've created in your mind and in your emotions and your physiological experience based on the emotions. It doesn't know the difference. So you can recreate exactly what you want to experience. And
That's
every time you do that, you take your energy and your power back and you bring it into the here and now and the presence, and you become more of the truth of you, which is light and love, and you raise this frequency. And that's what's happening on the entire planet right now. It's happening to the planet, and it's happening through us as energetic beings present on the planet. We're processing not only our own traumas and emotional, you know, densities, but we're processing for women,
Yeah.
for the for womankind, for the divine mother, for the planet, for all the abuses that the planet, all of this trauma, it's all energy releasing through our human experience. So why judge it? It's just a part of evolution. Bring it compassion and light and love, and reframe your experience, because you are a creative being, and that's what you get to do. That's your superpower right there.
So you taught me about the nervous system. I didn't really know anything about the nervous system, but now I do. And also you introduced me to breath work. And I've had the pleasure of being in some of your breath work, group work. It's really, really magical. If it's all right with you, it'd be really good to share where people can find you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ye-
Do you want to give a little synopsis of what the breath work is for people? Like what if somebody wants to explore breath work, and there's different types. There's ones to calm your nervous system down, but we're talking here about bringing up trauma as different type of breath work. So if you were to just briefly describe why and what this is. So
so yeah, absolutely. I do a combination. I've garnered a lot of tools in my many years of spiritual and study and self actualization. And so what I do with clients and what I do in groups is a combination of a lot of things. Um, I I utilize this specific technique of breath work called, like I said, clarity breath work, and it's a conscious connected breath. There are many through Kundalini yoga. Even there's so many different types of pranayama with different outcomes. If you're trying to change the science, the wetness of the body or the temperature, or just different things, you use different types of breath. And breath is amazing. It's powerful. It's our connection to all that is. This human body would not be animated without breath. So this is how we connect to the truth of our soul. This is the importance of your breath. And that's why this technique I've really found so very powerful. What I do, this is a conscious connected breath. So it's an inhale and an exhale all through the mouth, and there's no pause. So it's like the ocean. It goes in and out very gently. And what it does is it oxygenates your entire system. And where there's trauma, you store them in your cells. And so it brings oxygen and it releases this trauma. And we're emotional, we're energetic beings, and we process this energy through our emotions. So the point of the breath work as you're doing it, the point of this particular technique is not to bypass whatever's coming up. Sometimes you go into past lives. Sometimes, you journey just like a mushroom ceremony or a plant ceremony. Your subconscious mind, what I always say is it's a pathway, it's a technique to enable your subconscious mind to start a conversation with your conscious mind,
yeah.
with
Wow.
your awareness.
I love
Yeah.
that, Kelly. Absolutely love that. So
It yeah, it is. And I add to it energy work because I can see. I'm very intuitive, and I literally, the way my intuition works is I can feel emotionally, and I can feel as you're feeling, and I can see sometimes what you're experiencing. And so I use my own energy and my own breath work and Reiki to help move you through uh, blocks and to help bring in light and love where there's a lot of fear. And I use sound as well. I use sacred instruments. I've got two amazing, beautiful drums that one from Guatemala, from the abuelas, handmade, and rattles from Bali, and just beautiful instruments to help connect you to the breath and to help the frequency to release the trauma or to express the trauma where it hadn't been safe before. Now we create a space where it's safe for that subconscious mind to speak the anger,
Mm,
to feel the pain. And then we bring it the light and the love and the compassion.
that's so
And
beautiful.
that's kind of, that's the best way to explain, the work, kind of what happens. And sometimes, it's not all the time that you experience, trauma. You experience amazing, just bliss. It's like there's your subconscious mind dictates. It's not me. I show up to facilitate. It's all you. People will say, God, you're such a great healer and everything. And I say, no, I'm not healing you. It's not me healing you. You are healing you. It's not even healing. It's connecting with the truth of you because
Yeah.
you're not broken. The truth of you is not broken. It's not damaged. The truth of you is it you are all light and love. You've had human experiences that have piled on certain defenses for you to get through them because they were painful. But that doesn't identify you, that doesn't define you. The truth of you is you are light and love and the soul of the highest frequency. And so what I do is I just reconnect you with that.
Yeah. Remind
It's
you.
so simple.
So I've never had two breathworks the same, and I've been to many breathwork sessions, and I remember my private session with you. You used essential oils, and the main thing that I remember from that session is you reconnected with me with my mum on a soul level. So when I returned back to Scotland, my relationship with my mum had changed, and there aren't really any words to explain why that happened or what happened. I can tell you, I could say what I saw and what I visualized, but it's beyond like the words and everything. And I've had my very first breath work I went to was in Bali, and it was a group, and it was euphoric. And I was like, why am I not having trauma like everyone else? And then other ones I've done, one a group one with you, trauma came up. So you can't really say what's going to happen.
No.
And you were the one that introduced me to this type of breath work, and I ended up going and learning breath work myself. It's like incredible. So but I did it for myself, not to facilitate it. um
Yep.
and there's a so I could really recommend people look into this. Really recommend. Kellie, I feel like I've got to know you even more. Like, your
Yeah.
story is just incredible. When are you going to write this frigging book is my
Ah, I will. There is definitely a book in me, and I've started doing in the last couple of months is is I've started putting myself out there more. I'm doing more online. I've created a YouTube channel. I'm recreating this
We'll be
YouTube channel
putting that down here. People can find
that I
Kelly,
found.
Kelly
Yeah.
Coppell, right? I found it
Well,
already and subscribed.
the landing page with all of my like social media contacts, links and things is you can find it at kelliekoppel.com. KELLIEKOPPEL.com.
And
And
is that got a link to your YouTube as well as everything
it
else?
it has a link to everything.
Brilliant.
And my YouTube channel is called Authentically Kellie.
Yay.
uh, from glam to guru and everything in between.
Do you know what's really interesting? When one day, I think it was about a year after I'd left Mexico, I was lying in bed and I looked you up and I found all this other stuff. And I'm like, God, I know she told me about that life, but it was like, oh my God, I didn't realize Kelly Cole. It was so funny in that moment. So, which brings me to a question that I ask every guest. And I've been contemplating while you've been speaking where I'm going to take you in this question. Like, where should I take her? Your journey's been so incredible and so vast. And boy, did your soul choose the journey, right? I remember you saying this is the last time I'm coming, so I'm just going to get this all done. So, my question is, if you could go back to the Kelly that is on the red carpet, she's actualized her dreams, as so she in her mind. And if you could take a moment with her, a quiet moment, and you could tell her anything, what would you say to her?
You know, it's interesting because as I imagine and put myself back into that time and space, it was amazing. It was an amazing time and space. I was actualizing a whole a whole part of my dream
Mhm.
and having so much fun. You know, and I approached it very irreverent, like I do everything, because I'm quirky. I want to have fun. So there wasn't a part of me that was like too worried about how I looked, or it just, LA is all about the looks and the stuff. And there wasn't too much about me that was really concerned about that. I've never thought I was particularly, you know, I was never the gorgeous one in the room. I was always the smart one. But it's not, I mean, I can dress up and look good, and I can, turn heads with the right outfit or whatever. So it just hasn't, I don't lead with my looks. I've never led with my looks, and that's a big part of that environment. So I didn't have that bit. I was really having fun, and I was connecting with people on a soulful level, and I didn't even really realize it. I think the thing that I would maybe go back and tell her is that she's precious.
Oh,
She's just really precious and so beautiful, and just the journey of life, it all it was just magic, you
do you
know?
know, Kelly, I'd only ever seen you looking beautiful. And it just shows me that I'm just remembering that photo shoot we did that day, and your pictures were stunning. Um, it just shows me that that soul essence has been there all along with you. And I do have another question for you, which I usually finish off with, and that is, if you could pay forward anything to our listeners, viewers now, what would you offer to anybody listening to this?
To pay it forward, I would offer a magnanimous self-love. I would offer to hold the space for you to breathe in this moment. Close your eyes and just breathe.
Hmm.
Breathe in this light and this love. And just for this one moment, I want you to picture and see this beautiful, this light, this soul that came into this earth as the expression of you.
Hmm.
Feel that that spark, that initial soul spark, and the curiosity of being in a human experience, and the frequency of that love, and the experience, that first experience where you remember your soul's essence before you really start having your human experience. Maybe there's like this curiosity of this excitement, this butterflies of, oh, I'm going to be a human, allow this to kind of unwind around you, kind of explore it a little bit, that first soul essence. And as you breathe that into this human experience, breathe it through the entire timeline of this lifetime so that you remember that initial spark of soul that is you, that is your truth. Aside from what the human has experienced or been told or taught, beyond the ego and the mind, just breathe in that light and that love, knowing that that is the truth of every cell of your being, of your DNA. Breathe it in, breathe it in, breathe it in. Allow it to expand, expand, expand. And know that that's your truth. And when you meet traumas or challenges, take a breath and remember this connection and shift your focus to that. That's what I'd
Oh my
offer.
God, you just took me to a place that was incredible. That was incredible. Thank you very much, Kellie. It's
It
been
is my absolute pleasure.
it's been such an honor having you here. I can't wait to visit America one day. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure. You have my heart. You are my soul sister. Wherever you are in this world, whatever you need, I will always, always be there for you.
Ditto, Kellie. Thank you. Oh.